It's Story Saturday, y'all, and I need you to know sometimes you could do everything right and still end up at Walmart buying an entire vacation wardrobe. Because one time I decided to be a good mom and give my daughters autonomy to pack their own bags for vacation. I said, y'all are growing. I trust you. Pack your stuff. We get to St. Augustine, and my youngest, my sweet child, forgot her entire suitcase. Not a shirt, not a pajamas, not even a pair of underwear. That day I learned a whole spiritual lesson about releasing control, and it's one I'll never forget. So if you're a control lover, a planner, or you're trying to manage every little detail of life, stay with me. This story will set you free. Hey friend, welcome back to Waves of Change. I'm Vanessa, and this is day 24 of 100, posting every day while I take you with me on my overseas job hunt and the mindset it takes to keep showing up through transitions, pivots, and real life. Today is Story Saturday, so we're going to keep it a little light, but still meaningful. Here's what you're going to get. It's going to be a quick overseas job hunt update, a little networking check-in, that St. Augustine suitcase story that still makes me laugh, and a mindset takeaway that you could use this week, especially if you're gripping life a little too tight. All right. It's field report time. No applications were submitted today. Now, this makes 6 days in a row without applying for a job. I'd be lying if I said I don't feel a little pressure, but I'm still in the game. Today, I connected with 2 people on LinkedIn, and I spent a little time liking and commenting on posts, just staying visible, staying engaged, staying present. And I got one message back from a person in law school. It was encouraging, and I really appreciate it because sometimes that's all you need, a reminder that you're not crazy for pursuing something a little bit different. My lesson for today, even on slower days, you can still plant seeds. Now let me tell you the St. Augustine story because it's the real reason we're here today, Story Saturday. Okay, so picture this. Sicily, 1938. No, I'm kidding. Picture this. At the time, my daughters were 13 and 6, and we were going to vacation to St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city. I'm excited. They're excited. Everybody's excited. And I remember thinking, you know what? I'm always doing everything. Let me teach them some responsibility, Let me instill some life skills in them. Let me be this intentional mother. So I told them, hey, y'all, pack your bags. I trust you. You know what you want to wear. And I'm giving you the green light to wear whatever you like on this vacation. Now, my oldest, the 13-year-old, very much was like, okay, Mom. She packed like she was going to a job interview and a photo shoot. She was ready. But my youngest, the 6-year-old, had a different spirit. She still has a different spirit. She was so happy to be included in this big girl moment. She was walking around the house like, I'm packing, I'm grown, and I'm over here feeling proud. I was like, look at me. I'm raising independent girls. Fast forward, we drive all the way to St. Augustine. We check into our hotel. Everybody's tired. And I said, all right, y'all, let's bring the bags in. My oldest brings in her suitcase. No problem. My youngest comes in with a backpack that looked suspiciously light. So I'm like, where's your suitcase? And she looked at me like I asked her a hard math question. She said, my suitcase? I said, yes, ma'am, your suitcase with your clothes in it. And she goes, oh, yeah. We had left the house, driven all the way from Orlando to St. Augustine, checked in, and her suitcase was still at home, minding its own business, untouched and unbothered. Now, at first I thought maybe it was still in the trunk and we just missed it. So I go outside, just throwing things around, open the trunk, shifting it. The suitcase is nowhere to be found. And at that moment, you have 2 choices as a parent. You could lose your mind, or you could laugh so you don't cry. I chose a mixture of both. I said, okay, honey, sweetie, baby, what did you pack? She opened up this backpack with confidence, and inside was stuff. Things that make sense to a 6-year-old. A stuffed animal, a bracelet, crayons and a coloring book, and a granola bar. An old granola bar. Not one single outfit to get us through the day. And my oldest is looking like, see, Mom, this is why you can't trust people. And my youngest was just smiling with a silly look on her face. And she's like, we're on vacation. And I'm standing there realizing this is what happens when you release control a little bit too fast. But here's the part that actually makes it funny now. Because instead of letting it ruin the trip, we did what we had to do. We went to Walmart. Yes, Walmart. And I'm not even exaggerating. We picked up 5 new outfits. It became a whole thing. She was in Walmart like it was Fashion Week in Milan. That's this and this and this. And at that point, I wasn't even mad anymore because she was so happy and confident. This is part of the vacation experience. And honestly, it worked out. She had clothes. We had our trip. We made memories. And now we have a story that I will never let her live it down. Because to this day, I still tell her, remember that time you packed for vacation and left your suitcase at home? Now, here's why I'm telling you this story. Because it's funny, yeah, but it also taught me something. Sometimes we try to control everything because we think control equals safety. But control is exhausting. That trip reminded me you could plan, you could prepare, but instead of letting the unexpected turn into stress, sometimes you have to say, okay, we're just going to have to adjust. We're just going to have to pivot. We're just going to have to keep it moving. And that's what I meant by releasing control. Releasing control doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're not going to punish yourself when things don't go perfectly. It means you're going to stay flexible. It means you're going to go with the flow. It means you're going to choose peace over perfection. So yeah, it is a funny story. But let's talk about what it really taught me. Because this is the mindset tip of the day. Resilience. Resilience is not this dramatic superhero thing where you never get stressed and everything rolls off your back. Resilience is actually much simpler and much more powerful. Resilience is adjusting without breaking, staying present when life throws a curveball, and finding your footing again without making the moment mean something terrible about you. Because when we're in a transition season, job hunting, building something, starting over, life is already stretching you. So when a surprise happens, it's easy for your brain to go, of course, here we go again. Nothing ever goes right. But resilience says, okay, this happened, now what? And that's the energy we need for this season. So resilience is staying calm enough to problem solve. When we realized my youngest forgot her suitcase, I had a split second where I could have made it a whole crisis. I could have spiraled. I could have started implying she's irresponsible. She was 6. I could have turned it into a lecture that ruined the mood. But instead, we did what resilient people do. We went into solution mode. We didn't argue with reality. We didn't waste time blaming. We said, okay, what do we do next? That's resilience. And if you're watching me because you're in your own season of problem solving, know this. A resilient person doesn't need perfect circumstances. They need the ability to adapt. Resilience is not overreacting to the unexpected. Let me say that again because this is a word for somebody. Resilience is not overreacting to the unexpected. Because in transition seasons, what drains you isn't always the situation, okay? It's how hard you fight the situation mentally. You know what it sounds like when we fight it. This shouldn't be happening. Why is this always happening to me? I can't handle one more thing. This ruins everything. But resilience says, okay, this is unexpected. We're going to have to adjust. We're still going to enjoy ourselves. This isn't the end. This is just a moment. That's not denial. That's emotional maturity. Resilience means you don't let one mishap define the whole experience. And this is big because we could have let that suitcase mistake become the entire vacation. We could have spent the whole trip irritated. We could have replayed it in our minds like a failure. We could have carried that frustration like a backpack the whole week. But instead, we laughed, we adjusted, we got 5 outfits, and we kept it moving. And that's a resilience lesson for life. One moment doesn't get to define the whole season. One rejection doesn't define your career. One setback doesn't define your worth. One delay does not define your future. One mistake does not define your ability. Resilience is refusing to let a moment become a label. Resilience is being flexible without being defeated. This right here might be my favorite part because sometimes we think flexibility means weakness. Like if we adjust, it means we didn't plan well. No. Flexibility is strength. Flexibility is I can change direction without losing control. I can pivot without panicking. I can go with the flow without feeling like I'm losing control. Because there's a big difference between control and stability. Control is trying to manage every outcome, but stability is trusting yourself to respond well no matter what happens. That's resilience. And lastly, resilience is what makes overseas dreams possible. Now let me tie this back to why you're really here, because you're following my overseas job hunt, right? Because if you're trying to work overseas, relocate, or start over in a new country, resilience is not optional. You're going to need resilience for long timelines, okay? Different systems, delayed communication, paperwork surprises, and moments where things just don't go your way. So a Story Saturday suitcase moment is funny, yeah? But it's also a reminder. Life doesn't always go how you plan, but you still have to move forward with joy. And that's exactly the mindset you need when you're chasing something big. So here's the takeaway for today. Resilience is not about never forgetting the suitcase. Resilience is what you do after the suitcase is forgotten. Resilience is adapting, responding with grace, staying present, and not letting the unexpected steal your joy. And if you're in a season where it feels like the unexpected keeps happening, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not failing. You are learning how to bounce back. And that is a skill that will serve you for the rest of your life. Now let me anchor this with scripture, because resilience is easier when you're not relying on your own understanding for every single step. Because sometimes you don't know why it happened like that. Sometimes you don't know why you had to detour. Sometimes you don't know why things aren't going according to your plan. And that's exactly why this scripture hits. Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." That scripture is basically saying, stop acting like you have to understand every step for it to work out. Sometimes you don't know why it happened like that. Sometimes you don't know why it's slow. Sometimes you don't know why you didn't hear back yet. Sometimes you don't know why they canceled the postings. And sometimes you don't know why the jobs are not announced appropriately. But trust says, I'm still being guided. And today, Story Saturday, my little suitcase story, is a silly reminder that even when things don't go according to plan, you could still end up okay. You could still have joy. You can still make memories. You can still get what you need. Sometimes the path is straight. And sometimes the path would take you to Walmart. Either way, you're going to be all right. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had a moment where life forced you to release control? Like it didn't go how you planned, but it still worked out? Drop it in the comments. I read them and I'd love to hear y'all's stories. And if you're following this 100-day journey, subscribe to Ways of Change and check out the playlist so you can catch up from day one and keep rolling with me. Hey, thank you so much for being with me today. Day 24 of 100. I'll see you tomorrow for day 25. Bye now.